Welcome to the Risk Wheelhouse, the podcast where we navigate the ever-changing seas of risk management and technology. Join your hosts, Ori Wellington and Sam Jones, as they steer you through the latest trends, insights, and strategies shaping the future of integrated risk management. Ready to chart a course towards success? Hop aboard and let's set sail into today's deep dive.
We're coming to you live from Orlando, Florida. Well, not exactly live.
More like hot off the heels.
Yeah, hot off the heels of the Riskonnect User Conference. We just saw John A. Wheeler from Wheelhouse Advisors give a keynote address on integrated risk management. And wow.
It was pretty impactful, right?
Yeah, it really got me thinking about how businesses are handling risk these days. It's like we're all trying to drive a clunky old car in the fast lane of business, with risks popping up left and right. Cyber attacks, AI, new regulations. It's a lot to keep up with.
And the tools a lot of companies are using, they just aren't built for this kind of speed and complexity.
Exactly. It's like we're trying to navigate a Formula One race with a paper map and a compass wheeler. Really drove that point home.
He did. And what I found really interesting is he didn't just point out the problems. He actually offered a solution, a new framework he calls the IRM Navigator.
Yeah, that was intriguing. So before we dive into the nuts and bolts of that framework, let's break down what's wrong with the way many companies are approaching risk management now. What makes those old cars so clunky?
Well, a lot of companies are still relying on spreadsheets and siloed data. It's like trying to navigate using a paper map while everyone else has real-time GPS.
Okay, I see what you mean. So where do current GRC platforms fit into this analogy? They're not paper maps, but are they fully equipped for this fast-paced environment?
They're a step in the right direction, kind of like cars with GPS, but they often lack that truly integrated view of risk that you need to navigate effectively.
So they can tell you where you are, but they don't help you avoid hazards or choose the most efficient route. No driver assist features.
Exactly. They're not quite the self-driving cars that we need to truly master this risk landscape, and that's where integrated risk management, or IRM, comes in.
Okay, so it's about more than just identifying and assessing risks. It's about proactively managing them across the entire organization.
Right. It's about moving from a defensive, reactive approach to a more offensive, proactive one.
So instead of just having brakes, we need the full suite of driver assist features: lane departure warnings, blind spot detection, adaptive cruise control, all working together to keep us safe and on track.
Exactly. And here's the thing. The risk landscape itself is changing so rapidly. What was once a blip on the radar can quickly become a major obstacle.
You brought up AI, for example, which was once a theoretical risk for many companies, but now it's a major concern. I mean, look at the SEC filings. The number mentioning AI as a risk factor has jumped something like 473.5% this year alone.
It's a prime example of how quickly things are evolving and why companies need to be more agile and adaptable in their approach to risk.
That stat is pretty alarming when you think about it. It's not just about avoiding problems either, right? IRM is about enabling companies to actually move faster and with more confidence.
Exactly. It's about confidently accelerating your business, not just putting on the brakes all the time.
I like that. So Wheeler's solution to all of this is the IRM Navigator framework, right? Can you give us a quick overview of what that entails?
Sure. It's a framework built on 4 core components: goals, processes, assets, and policies. Think of it as the blueprint for building that high-performance risk management machine.
Okay, let's unpack those a bit, starting with goals. We talked earlier about how traditional risk management often falls short because of a lack of integration. So how do goals fit into this framework?
Well, in the IRM Navigator, goals are all about setting a clear direction for the organization. They're not just some vague aspirations, they're concrete objectives set by the board that outline the desired performance and risk appetite.
That's like setting a destination for your road trip. If you don't know where you're going, it's pretty tough to plan a route, right?
Exactly. And just as important as setting those goals is making sure they're communicated clearly across the organization. Everyone needs to be on the same page, understanding where the company is headed and how their individual roles contribute to reaching those goals.
Right, so everyone's working towards the same destination. No one's driving in circles or heading in the wrong direction. So how does the processy component fit into all of this? What exactly are these processes in the IRM Navigator?
Think of processes as the roadmap for achieving those goals. It's the how of risk management, the methods and procedures for identifying, assessing, and mitigating risks.
Okay, so it's about mapping out specific scenarios and developing plans to address them. Kind of like planning for detours or road closures on your road trip.
Precisely. It's about proactively identifying potential roadblocks, assessing their likelihood and impact, and then developing strategies to either avoid them altogether or minimize their impact if they do occur.
So instead of just reacting to risks as they pop up, you're anticipating them and preparing in advance. You're not just swerving to avoid potholes. You're planning your route to bypass them entirely.
Exactly. And this is where teamwork and discipline become absolutely crucial. Wheeler emphasized the importance of having clear ownership and accountability for managing risks. Everyone needs to know their role and responsibilities.
So it's like having a well-coordinated pit crew during a race, right? Everyone has a specific job to do, and they need to work together seamlessly to keep the car running smoothly.
Perfect analogy. And just like a pit crew needs to be able to adapt to changing conditions during a race, organizations need to build that same flexibility and agility into their risk management processes.
Because the risk landscape is constantly changing, right?
Right.
Your approach needs to be able to evolve along with it.
Absolutely. It's about creating a dynamic and responsive system, not just a static set of rules.
Okay, so we've covered goals and processes. What about assets? Where do they fit in?
Assets are the resources that power your organization, both technological and human. They're the tools and capabilities that help you navigate the risk landscape effectively.
So we're talking about things like technology, data, expertise.
Exactly. Think of them as the driver assist features in a modern car. They can significantly enhance your ability to manage risk.
So when we talk about assets, we're not just talking about physical things like buildings and equipment. It's also about things like data, technology, and expertise.
Absolutely. And a key point Wheeler made is that these assets need to be adaptable and able to keep up with the changing risk landscape. He called it journey continuity.
So you need to be able to update your assets as new risks emerge, kind of like updating your car's software to include the latest safety features and navigation updates.
Exactly. And when it comes to human capital, it's not just about having a team of risk professionals. It's also about making sure they have the right skills and training to tackle those increasingly complex risks.
So investing in training and development is just as important as investing in the latest technology when it comes to building a resilient asset base.
Couldn't agree more. And one more thing on assets, Wheeler talked about the importance of having a shared risk taxonomy, which means everyone's on the same page when it comes to defining and classifying risks.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like everyone in the organization is speaking the same language when it comes to risk. No more miscommunication or confusion.
Exactly. It's about creating that shared understanding, which is so crucial for effective risk management.
Okay, so we've covered goals, processes, and assets. That leaves us with policies, the final component of the IRM Navigator. How do they contribute to this driver assist approach to risk management?
Policies are like the rules of the road for your organization. They provide the framework for compliance, ethical conduct, and responsible risk-taking.
So they're the guardrails that keep everyone driving safely and within the boundaries.
Precisely. And Wheeler stressed the importance of having policies that are clear, concise, and easy to understand. No one wants to wade through pages of legalese.
Right, they need to be practical and applicable. So it's not enough to just have these policies written down somewhere. They need to be communicated effectively and reinforced regularly.
Absolutely. And you also need ways to identify and address any areas of non-compliance. Think of it like having traffic cameras and police officers to enforce the rules of the road.
So it's not just about setting the rules, it's about making sure everyone is following them.
Exactly. And that ties back to the importance of accountability that we discussed earlier. When people know there are consequences for breaking the rules, they're more likely to follow them.
Okay, so we've now unpacked all 4 components of the IRM Navigator: goals, processes, assets, and policies. It sounds like a pretty comprehensive approach to risk management. But is it really that different from traditional approaches?
Well, what sets the IRM Navigator apart is the focus on integration. Traditional risk management is often very siloed, with different departments or functions managing risks in isolation.
So it's like everyone's driving their own car, following their own map, and not really communicating with each other.
Exactly. And that can lead to inconsistencies, gaps in coverage, and just a lack of overall coordination.
The IRM Navigator is more like having everyone in the same car, working together, sharing information, and making decisions collaboratively.
Precisely. And as the risks facing organizations become more complex and interconnected, that integrated approach becomes even more crucial.
I can see how that would be beneficial. But how does a company actually implement the IRM Navigator? Where do they even start?
It all begins with a thorough assessment of their current risk management maturity. Where are they on the spectrum from ad hoc and reactive to strategic and proactive?
Okay, so they need to figure out what kind of car they're currently driving before deciding what upgrades they need.
Exactly. Once they have a clear understanding of their current state, they can start developing a roadmap for implementing the IRM Navigator, prioritizing the areas where they need to make the biggest changes.
And would that involve things like defining their risk appetite, figuring out who's responsible for managing which risks, and creating a comprehensive risk management framework?
Absolutely. And remember, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. The specific steps will vary depending on the organization's size, industry, and overall complexity.
So it's like customizing your car to fit your specific needs and driving style.
That's a great way to put it. The key is to tailor the implementation of the IRM Navigator to the unique circumstances of each organization.
Okay, we've got a good grasp on the IRM Navigator now and why it's so crucial in today's business world. But let's talk about the practical side of things. How do companies actually put this into practice? Are there any real-world examples of companies successfully using this framework?
Definitely. One example is this global manufacturing company that used the IRM Navigator to really shore up their supply chain. They mapped out their entire supply chain, pinpointed the potential risks at every stage, and developed mitigation strategies to make it more resilient.
So they basically looked at all the potential roadblocks in their supply chain and figured out detours or alternative routes to keep things moving smoothly.
Exactly. And because they integrated risk management into their strategic planning process, they were able to make smarter decisions about sourcing, production, and logistics.
Okay, that's a great example. Any others?
Well, there's this financial services company that used the IRM Navigator to boost their cybersecurity posture. They started by defining their risk tolerance for cyber attacks, then built out a comprehensive set of policies and procedures for managing those risks, and finally, they invested in the technology and training they needed to make it all happen.
So they basically upgraded their cybersecurity systems to be like a car with all the latest driver assist features, ensuring they could handle those tricky cyber threats.
Exactly. And that proactive, integrated approach significantly reduced their chances of data breaches and other cyber incidents.
These examples really showcase how versatile the IRM Navigator can be across different industries and functions. It's not just theory, it's a tool for tackling real-world problems.
Absolutely. And as the risks we face get more complex, I think we're going to see even more innovative ways to use this framework.
All right, so the takeaway here is IRM isn't about being overly cautious. It's about empowering businesses to move faster and with more confidence.
I couldn't have said it better myself. By shifting to a more integrated and proactive approach to risk management, companies can actually accelerate their growth while minimizing their exposure to potential roadblocks.
Well, we've covered a ton of ground in this first part of our deep dive into John A. Wheeler's keynote. We've looked at the shortcomings of traditional risk management, the core ideas behind the IRM Navigator, and even some real-world applications.
It's been a great discussion so far. Looking forward to unpacking even more insights from the keynote in the next part of our deep dive.
Me too. There's so much more to explore. Stay tuned as we continue our journey into the world of integrated risk management and discover how this framework can help you navigate the fast lane of business with confidence.
See you in part 2.
Are you ready to see risk management in action? At Wheelhouse Advisors, we've launched a new YouTube channel dedicated to integrated risk management. You'll find quick explainers, insights from our IRM Navigator research reports, highlights from the Risk Journal, and conversations from the Risk Wheelhouse podcast. We're covering the topics that matter most to executives and risk leaders, from AI governance and cyber insurance to operational resilience and regulatory change. Every video is designed to help you anticipate risks, adapt with confidence, and build resilience in a digital-first world. In our first video, we explain how ISO 42001, the EU AI Act, and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework can work together as a unified playbook for AI risk. Subscribe today at youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv and get the latest insights delivered directly to you. That's youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv. Subscribe now and stay ahead of the risks that matter most.
So, we talked about the goals component being super important for setting that clear direction. But Wheeler pointed out something about setting effective goals that I thought was really interesting.
Oh, fill me in. What else did he say about goals?
He said a lot of companies, they get stuck because their goals are either like way too vague or they don't communicate them well to the whole company. Like imagine you're going on a road trip and you just say, hey, let's head towards the mountains, but you don't pick a specific spot.
You might have fun driving around, but you're not going to end up anywhere specific, are you?
Exactly. And in the business world, it's not enough to just have a general sense of where you want to go. You need those specific, measurable targets that everybody gets and can work towards, you know?
Right, so instead of let's head for the mountains, it's more like we're going to hike to the top of Mount Whitney.
Exactly. And Wheeler emphasized how these goals, they can't just be about money. They have to include the organization's risk appetite, too. Like, how much risk are they cool with taking to reach their goals?
It's like setting a speed limit for your road trip, right? You might want to get there fast, but you also have to think about how risky it is to drive too fast.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's all about finding that balance between speed and safety, and that's a big part of setting good goals in the IRM Navigator framework.
So once you've got those goals nailed down and everyone knows what they are, what's the next step in this IRM Navigator thing? How do you go from picking a destination to actually planning the route?
That's where the processes come in. Remember, this is all about actually managing the risks and hitting those goals we just talked about.
Right. So it's not just saying, okay, we want to boost revenue by 10%. You got to have a plan for how you're going to do that while also handling any risks that come up.
Exactly. And this is where things start to get really interesting because processes are all about taking action. It's where the rubber meets the road, as they say.
Okay, I'm following you. So let's say there's a company that's about to launch this new product in a really competitive market. What would the processes part look like in that situation?
First thing, they'd have to figure out all the potential risks that come with that launch, like supply chain issues, competitors doing something unexpected, bad press, or even just consumers changing their minds, you know?
So they're basically scouting out the road ahead, trying to spot any potholes or roadblocks that could mess up their trip.
Right. Then, once they've spotted those risks, they need to assess how likely each one is to happen and how bad it would be if it did, like how much it could impact the launch.
So they're figuring out which potholes they can just drive around and which ones are going to require a full-on detour, huh?
You got it. And then, once they've sized up those risks, they can come up with strategies to deal with each one, like maybe avoiding it altogether, minimizing the damage if it happens, or even passing the risk off to someone else.
So it's like planning the whole route. Which roads to take, which ones to avoid, what to do if there's a surprise road closure.
Yep, that's a great way to think about it. And Wheeler really hammered home how important teamwork and discipline are in this step. Managing risks well means everybody knows who's doing what and who's responsible if things go wrong.
Makes sense. It's not enough to just have a plan. You need people who are actually going to make it happen and who are accountable if it doesn't.
Think of it like a pit crew in a Formula One race. Everyone's got a job, and they got to work together perfectly to keep that car in top shape.
Yeah, if just one person messes up, the whole race could be ruined.
That's right, and the same thing goes for businesses. If you don't manage risks well, even the best plans can go off the rails.
All right, so processes are about taking action, making sure everyone knows their job, and being ready to adapt as things change. What about assets? What do they do in this IRM Navigator thing?
Assets are what make it possible to actually use those processes and handle risks. They're the tools and resources that help you navigate the risk landscape like a pro.
So if the processes are the roadmap, assets are the car and the driver, the things that get you from point A to point B?
Exactly. And just like you wouldn't take a beat-up old clunker on a cross-country road trip, you don't want to try and manage super complex risks with weak resources.
So what kind of assets are we talking about here?
On the tech side, you've got things like risk management software, tools to analyze data, feeds that keep you updated on threats, even AI-powered stuff that helps you spot and assess risks more effectively.
So these are like the navigation system, lane departure warnings, adaptive cruise control in a car. They keep you on track and help you avoid trouble.
That's the idea. And then you got the human side of things. You might have a team of risk experts who are specialized in stuff like cybersecurity, compliance, operational risk, all that.
So they're like the experienced drivers who know how to handle different roads and think fast when things get tough.
Exactly. And just as important as having the right tech and experts is having a culture where everyone in the company is aware of risk. They need to understand how important it is to manage risk and feel comfortable flagging potential problems.
So it's not just about having a few designated drivers. It's about making sure everyone in the car is paying attention and ready to help out if needed.
That's a great way to put it. And Wheeler talked about something called a shared risk taxonomy. Basically, it means everyone in the company uses the same language and definitions when they're talking about risk.
So there's no confusion about what a pothole is or what a roadblock means. Everyone's on the same page, right?
Right. Having that shared understanding is super important for building a risk management program that actually works.
Okay, goals, processes, and assets are covered. What about policies? Where do they fit into this whole picture?
Policies are like the rules of the road for your company. They lay out the framework for staying compliant, managing risk responsibly, and doing business ethically.
So they're like traffic laws, speed limits, safety regulations. They keep everyone on the road and make sure things run smoothly.
That's a great analogy. And just like those traffic laws, policies have to be clear, enforced, and applied consistently across the whole company.
It's not enough to just have a bunch of rules buried in a dusty old book somewhere. Everyone needs to know them and follow them from the top to the bottom.
Exactly. Wheeler also pointed out that the best policies are the ones that are tailored to the specific risks each company faces. A one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't cut it.
It's like how different roads have different speed limits and traffic patterns.
Yeah,
Different companies need different policies to handle their own unique risks.
you got it. And it's just as important to have ways to spot and deal with people who aren't following the rules. This might involve things like regular audits, checks and balances, or even whistleblower hotlines.
So it's like having traffic cameras and cops to make sure people are driving safely and following the law.
And when people know that the rules are being enforced, they're much more likely to actually follow them.
So we've covered all 4 pieces of the IRM Navigator now. Goals, processes, assets, and policies. It's a pretty comprehensive framework, covering everything from setting a strategy to managing risks day to day.
And what's really cool about it is that it's not just some theory in a textbook. It's a practical system that companies can actually use to solve real problems and manage risk better overall.
We've already heard about a couple of companies that are using it successfully, but are there any specific tools or tech that can help companies implement this framework?
Definitely. There are more and more risk management software and platforms popping up that can help companies automate and streamline their risk management stuff. These tools can do everything from showing you real-time risk dashboards and creating automated reports to managing workflows and handling incident responses.
So it's like having a super high-tech dashboard in your car that gives you all the info you need to drive safely and efficiently, like alerts about potential hazards, real-time traffic updates, even suggestions for alternative routes.
Exactly. And these tools can be super valuable for companies trying to put the IRM Navigator into action. They can help boost visibility, make collaboration easier, and lead to better decisions overall.
But just having the tools isn't enough, right? You still need people who know how to use them and processes in place to make it all work.
You hit the nail on the head. Technology can be a game changer, but it's not a magic bullet. You gotta have the right people, the right processes, and the right company culture to make it all come together.
It's not about just buying a fancy car with all the bells and whistles. It's about having a skilled driver behind the wheel who knows how to use all that stuff effectively.
That's exactly right. And that's why Wheeler emphasized how important it is to invest in training and development for risk professionals. You got to equip your people with the skills and knowledge they need to navigate this increasingly complex risk landscape,
Okay, we've gone over a lot in this second part of our deep dive. We talked about the practical side of the IRM Navigator, looked at some examples, and talked about how tech plays a role.
It's been a great discussion so far. And, Wheeler hinted at some pretty exciting stuff coming down the pike when it comes to the future of IRM. I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say.
Me too. Before we get to that, though, what are some of the big takeaways from this part that our listeners should remember?
For me, the biggest takeaway is that managing risk well isn't just about having a ton of rules and procedures. It's about understanding your goals, having a clear process for spotting and addressing risks, having the right resources to execute that process, and making sure everyone in the company is aware of risk and knows their role.
I totally agree. The IRM Navigator framework really gives you a solid roadmap for building that kind of integrated and proactive approach to risk management.
And as we talked about, technology can be a big help in putting this framework into practice, but it can't replace human expertise and judgment, right?
Right. You still need skilled risk pros who can interpret the data, make good decisions, and adjust their strategies as the risk landscape changes, which is like all the time.
And like Wheeler said, that risk landscape is changing faster than ever. So it's more important than ever to stay in the loop, be proactive, and be ready to adapt.
I'm really curious to hear what Wheeler has to say about the future of risk management. He hinted at some pretty big shifts coming our way.
Me too. Why don't we take a quick break, and then we'll dive into Wheeler's predictions about what's next for IRM.
Okay, so we're back, ready to dig into those predictions about the future of integrated risk management that Johnny Wheeler laid out for us. He hinted at some pretty major shifts happening in the industry.
Oh yeah, some really big changes coming. One of the most interesting trends he talked about is AI, artificial intelligence, becoming a bigger part of risk management.
AI and risk management. Can you give us an idea of what that actually looks like in a real-world scenario?
Sure, imagine this. A company's got this AI-powered risk management system, right? And it picks up on a ton of chatter on social media about a potential safety issue with one of their products.
Oh, wow. Like a PR nightmare in the making.
Exactly. So this system, it automatically kicks off a bunch of actions, like alerting the right teams, starting a safety review of the product, even putting together a draft communication plan for stakeholders.
It's like having this super efficient risk management assistant working 24/7, constantly scanning the environment for threats and taking action before things blow up.
That's a great way to put it. And that kind of real-time monitoring and response, it's becoming mission critical in today's world where everything moves so fast.
But what about the human side of things? Does this mean AI is going to replace risk management professionals altogether?
I don't think so, at least not anytime soon. AI can automate tasks and give you great insights, but it can't fully replace human judgment and experience, you know?
So it's more like AI is a powerful tool to help risk managers do their jobs better, not a replacement for them.
Exactly. AI can handle those routine tasks and crunch all that data, while humans focus on the big picture stuff, like setting risk appetite, making those tough decisions, and dealing with the ethical side of risk management.
That makes sense. So AI is one big force shaping the future of IRM. What else did Wheeler predict?
He talked about something called autonomous incident response, which is pretty mind-blowing. It's where AI systems can not only spot and assess risks, but actually take steps to contain them and fix them without any human intervention.
So it's like a self-driving car that can swerve to avoid an accident or slam on the brakes if something suddenly appears in front of it.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Let's say in the cybersecurity world, an autonomous incident response system, it could automatically isolate a server that's been compromised, block harmful traffic, even install patches and updates to stop further damage.
That sounds incredibly efficient. But doesn't it make you a little uneasy to think about machines having that much control, especially when you're dealing with critical systems and sensitive data?
It's definitely something to think carefully about. There are valid concerns, and that's why it's so important to develop and use these autonomous systems responsibly, with a lot of thought about the potential risks and ethical implications.
So it's about finding that balance, harnessing the power of AI while making sure humans are still in the driver's seat, and that these systems are operating in line with our values.
Exactly. And this is going to require a lot of ongoing conversation and collaboration between the tech people, the ethics experts, and the folks who make policy.
All right, so we've got AI-powered risk management and autonomous incident response as two big trends. Anything else on the horizon for IRM?
Wheeler also talked about predictive analytics becoming a bigger deal. It's where companies use data modeling and machine learning to forecast potential risks and adjust their plans ahead of time.
So instead of just reacting to risks after they happen, you're using data to try and see into the future and prevent those risks from happening in the first place.
Exactly. And this kind of proactive risk management, it can be incredibly valuable, especially in those industries where even a small disruption can have huge consequences.
Can you give us a real-world example of how predictive analytics might work?
Sure. Picture a big retail company that wants to know how much of certain products they'll need during the holiday rush. They can use predictive analytics to look at past sales data, weather patterns, social media trends, all sorts of stuff.
So they're basically trying to get ahead of the game and make sure they have enough inventory on hand to meet demand.
Exactly. By predicting those spikes in demand, they can avoid running out of stock, keep shipping costs down, and ultimately make their customers happier.
That makes a lot of sense. And I imagine you can use predictive analytics for all kinds of risks, not just sales forecasting, right?
Absolutely. Everything from supply chain issues to cybersecurity threats to natural disasters.
It sounds like an incredibly powerful tool for companies that want to stay ahead of the curve and navigate this crazy risk landscape we're in.
It is. And as data gets easier to come by and those analytical techniques keep getting better, I think we're going to see predictive analytics play an even bigger role in risk management in the coming years.
That's exciting, but it also makes you wonder about data privacy and the potential for bias creeping into these algorithms. We need to make sure that as these technologies get smarter, we're also thinking critically about their limitations and potential downsides.
I totally agree. With any powerful tool, there's always a chance for misuse or unintended consequences. We've got to make sure these technologies are being developed and used responsibly and ethically.
So Wheeler's predictions paint a fascinating picture of what's ahead for IRM. What are your big takeaways from his insights? And how do they connect with all this stuff we've been talking about in this deep dive?
I think the main takeaway is that risk management is going through this huge transformation driven by all this new technology and an increasingly complex world. The old way of doing things, just reacting to risks after they happen, it's not enough anymore. Companies need to be more proactive, more data-driven, and more integrated in their approach if they want to succeed.
I agree. And it's clear that technology is going to be a key player in this transformation. But it's not just about buying the latest and greatest tools. It's about using them strategically and ethically to make better decisions and build more resilient organizations.
Right. We need to make sure these technologies are being used in a way that aligns with our values and makes the world a better place. And that's going to take ongoing discussion, collaboration, and some critical thinking about the potential benefits and risks of these advancements.
Wheeler also threw out this bold prediction about a shift towards something called outcome-based pricing in the risk management space. Can you break that down for us a bit? What does that even mean, and how might it impact the industry?
He's talking about this move away from how things are usually priced, where companies pay for software licenses or hours of consulting, to a model where they pay for the results they actually get. So instead of paying for a risk management platform, a company might pay for, say, a certain percentage decrease in cyber attacks or a specific improvement in their safety record.
That's a pretty big change. What's driving this trend, and what kind of challenges might it create?
I think it's coming from companies wanting more accountability and being able to see real results. They're not happy just checking the box on risk management anymore. They want to see a return on their investment,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do you actually measure those outcomes in a fair and objective way? And how do you make sure both the company and the risk management provider are motivated to hit those targets?
Those are great questions. And to be honest, they're still figuring that out. It's crucial to develop clear metrics for measuring how well risk management is working, and there's going to be some trial and error as the industry sorts out the best way to do it.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. But if they get it right, this shift to outcome-based pricing could lead to a more result-oriented risk management industry, which would be good for everyone.
I think so too. It could be a win-win where providers get rewarded for delivering real value, and companies are encouraged to invest in effective risk management.
So the future of IRM is full of possibilities, but it also comes with some tricky challenges. How can our listeners get ready for these changes and set themselves up for success in this evolving landscape?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed and be open to constantly learning new things. Risk management is changing so fast, and the people who are willing to adapt and pick up new skills will be the ones who come out on top.
It's about staying curious, asking questions, and challenging the way you think about risk.
And it's about connecting with other people in the risk management world. Sharing knowledge, working together, and learning from each other's experiences is going to be key to navigating this new terrain.
John A. Wheeler's keynote was a real eye-opener, giving us a roadmap for not just surviving, but thriving in a world that's increasingly complex and risky.
He highlighted the need for the right people, the right processes, and the right technology all working together.
And as we move towards a future where AI plays a bigger and bigger role, we need to be smart about how we use these powerful tools.
It's about balancing our excitement with some healthy caution, making sure we're using AI responsibly and ethically. And that requires us to think critically about potential risks and keep the conversation going between all the different stakeholders.
Well, it's been a fascinating conversation exploring this evolving world of integrated risk management and its crucial role in helping businesses succeed.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and stay ahead of the curve.
That wraps up another episode of the Risk Wheelhouse. Thank you for spending time with us at Wheelhouse Advisors today. We hope you found the conversation insightful and actionable for your organization's risk strategies. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. If you're looking for more in-depth analysis and thought leadership on risk technology, be sure to visit the Risk Tech Journal at therisktechjournal.com. It's your go-to source for comprehensive articles, expert interviews, and the latest trends shaping the industry. Subscribe today to stay informed. For any inquiries or feedback, please contact us directly at info@wheelhouseadvisors.com, or feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and x.com and share your thoughts or suggestions for future topics. Visit wheelhouseadvisors.com for more information and resources. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, navigate wisely.